Hey guys, what's up? It's me, the Cubing Bear, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'll be showing you how to solve the 5x5 Rubik's Cube. The 5x5 Rubik's Cube is the next level of the 4x4 Rubik's Cube and the 3x3 in the series of n-by-n puzzles. This tutorial is going to cover the most basic method possible to solve the 5x5 with the least amount of algorithms as possible and the most base intuition. Algorithms and timestamps will be in the description below. In order to solve this cube, you are going to need a few requirements. The first thing you're going to need to do is learn how to solve a 3x3. The second thing you're going to need is know how to solve a 4x4. So those are the requirements that you need in order to solve your 5x5. If you guys don't know how to solve either one of those, I do have tutorials which I will link in the card above and the description down below, where you can see a full playlist of all my tutorials. But with that being said, let's get started with the actual tutorial. The first thing you want to do when you have your 5x5 and want to solve it is go ahead and scramble it up. One thing that you may notice about the 5x5 that's different than the 4x4 is that this is an odd layer puzzle. Because it's an odd layer puzzle, we already know what side has to be which. So in this case, you can see that the center cap or the center sticker, the center part in the middle of the 5x5 is a white, which means this whole side needs to be white. The same goes for green, red, blue, orange, and yellow. So it follows the same color scheme as a regular 3x3, except now we don't have to be making our own centers like we did on an even layered puzzle. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do when solving the 5x5 is we want to start off with the white center. And that's that 3x3 center you could see right here in the middle. This whole thing will become its own center. So what we want to do first is we want to make the middle bar. So in order to do that, we want to align a piece here and here next to the center. So we already have one here, and I'm looking around, I can see there's one here. So if it's like this, I want to align it so that they are going in the vertical spot, and they're like that. And I'm going to keep looking around. I see one here, and if I'm looking for a corner piece, we can line them up like that. And we can see that there's one up here. As I'm doing these moves, it's also important for you to check that you're not breaking your bar, because when you move around the cube, let's say I wanted to put this corner right here, it would have broken this bar. So you want to make sure when you do those moves, you have to move them vertical so we can move it down and not damage anything. So we're going to keep going. We can put this bar down here, and just like that, we've made part of the bar. The next thing that we're looking for is another piece. So here's a corner of the edge. We're looking for whites only. And I see it's up here, so I want to make sure that if I move this layer up, is it going to damage anything on our white side? It's not, so now I know, so I can line them up. Then I can just keep dragging it down until we have it just like that. Let's go through a couple more walkthroughs so we can really solidify this down. Okay, so here's another scrambled cube. We can see that we want to start off on our white side. That's this side right here. I'm looking around the cube, and I can see there's already a bar right there. I can see that there's an edge here and an edge here, and if I move them down, I've created the first bar. So now I'm going to look around. Here's a corner piece. And if you have a case like this where there's already a corner there and I want to move it to an edge, you want to make sure that they're both vertically aligned, and just move that edge up so it won't break apart anything here. We can see that there's one here, so we can move it there, move it down. So we created another bar to align with this bar. Now we just need this last bar. So the whole goal is for us to make 1x1x3 bars. So a 1x3x1 bar. So let's see, here's another one right here. We're going to go ahead and pair them up. If you have a case like this is a really cool trick. You can do an R. You can do an R, lowercase r, U or U prime, and then you can go back down and that will line them up. So we're going to keep looking around. Here's one right here. I can find the piece. Here's the piece right there. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to make sure that if I move this down, I'm not going to damage my white side. So if I move that down, it does damage the white side. So I'm going to move it where there's an empty space. So here's where the empty space is, and I can move this down peacefully, move it down, line it up, and just like that, we've made a bar again. We're going to go through one more example. Okay, so here we have another case right here where we have another scrambled cube. I'm looking around. Here's my white center, so I know this is where I want to build my white bar. Here's an edge right there, just like that. I've made it. Now I can keep looking around. It looks like we have two here. We're just missing the centerpiece. If I can find, there it is. I can just rotate it, bring them both up, making sure I didn't damage my white side. I didn't damage it. Okay. Now I can insert it where the white is, just like that. We're looking around again. Here we have another piece. We can line them up together like that. And now we're just looking for that corner white piece. If we look around the cube, here it is right here. So we can move this up, move this towards here, making sure we don't damage our white side. We haven't damaged it. So now we can insert it, and we've created the white center. All right, so now that we have our white side completely solved, let's look around the cube, and now we're gonna go and do the opposite, which is the yellow side. So doing the yellow side is kind of the same thing, except this time we have to make sure that we don't damage this white side, as it's always gonna be damaged no matter what move we do in order to get it to work. So the first thing that you wanna do when you have this white side is you wanna pair it up with one edge, or one of these 4 edge blocks that are right next to it, because it's going to help us make 1x2 blocks. So first we want to build our first 1x2 block by looking for an edge piece and putting it up there. And here's one by itself. So to insert an edge piece by itself, you're going to perform the following algorithm. If it's on the left, you're going to do it this way. Similarly, if it's on the right, you're going to insert it like this. And now that we've created our 1x2 block, we can go around the cube and we're going to make another 1x2. So we're looking for a piece like this and pairing it up with a corner. So I'm looking around and it looks like I can pair this up like this, like that. And now we can put it in. So how we want to put it is when we have our corner ready to go, if we're going to insert it from the right side, we're going to line it up so that the bar is facing upward like this. And we're going to perform this algorithm. We're going to do a U. We're going to perform this kind of algorithm. Just like that. So we're going to keep going around. And here we have another one. We can make another one. And now when we have it like this, if we're inserting from the left side, it's going to look like this. And just like that, by making 2 1x2 blocks, we've created 2 1x3s. And all we need to do now is just make this bar right here. Now, the important thing that I'm doing here is that I'm making sure that when I'm looking around for these pieces, I'm holding it so that my white side's on my left like this and my yellow's on my right. That way, no matter what turns I do like this, it won't damage any of the work we've done on our white side or our yellow side. So make sure when you're looking around for yellow pieces for the yellow side, you're holding it with the white side on your right palm and the left side on your left palm as you're going around the cube, and only turning it like this, up and down. Okay, so we have our piece right here. We're going to line it up, keep looking, keep pairing, and there we go. So now it's ready to be inserted. So to insert the last bar, if you're doing it from the left, you're going to do like this. If we're going to insert it from the right side, then what we want to do is we don't want to put it in on this empty space, because if we did that, we would be back to square one. So instead, we want to put it where there's already a 1x3 block, put it in there, move it 2 times with a U, and then move it back down. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to make the yellow center and the white center. So by then you should be done. By then you should be done making the white center and the yellow center. Let's go through a walkthrough. We're going to go ahead and try that one more time as an example. So we're looking up here. We can pair this up as the first thing we want to do is we want to insert one block to make it a 1x2. And looking at this yellow side, I've already made one, but in case you don't know how to make one, how I would do it is I would either make it on the left side or on the right side. I'll do it on the right. So we'll do an R, U, R prime like that. And that makes our 1x block. And we can keep, now we're holding it with yellow on our right, white on our left as we go up and down. And we can move this as much as we want, no matter what we do, because it won't break any of our progress. So here I have another 1x2 block. I'm going to insert it. This time it's from the left. So do that algorithm to insert. Going to keep looking around. Here I have a piece and here I have another one. So I'm going to line them up together. Another 1x2, and this one won't be able to go in. It'll go in on the right side. So I'm going to put it in with an R, U, R prime. Now I've created 2 1x3 blocks, and all I need to do is make this last block. So we're going to make it down here, making sure that everything is good to go. And just like that, it's built together. So now we have to line it up so that it's like not like this, where there's an empty space, but where there's an already 1x3 block, to insert it using the L, U2, L prime move. And we've created the yellow center. Here's another example. We see that we already have it up on top, and now we're going to keep looking for 2 more 1x2 blocks. So here's another 1x2. Now, how to tell, in case you don't know how to tell, in order to tell if it's going to go in on the left or on the right, if we insert it up, you can see they don't make a perfect block. So that's how I know it has to go in on the left side. And so that's how you can tell. So we're going to keep looking. Here's another one we've made. We're going to line it up so it goes up here and makes a perfect block like that. Going to keep looking around. And here's one right here. But what if I have my piece up here and I'm trying to put it in? Well, what you can do is you can go to a space where there's no yellow spots. You can just do the reverse. So you're going to, if it's on the right, you're going to do an R prime, F2, R prime. And if it's on the left side and you want to move it down, you're going to perform an L prime, an L, F2, L prime. Okay, so now that it's here and separated, I can finally pair them up together, just like that. And now I can insert, making sure that I'm pairing it, that I'm going to put it in where there's already a 1x3 block, because when I finish, it will have both the white and the yellow fully solved. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last four centers. So we're looking around right here, and we can see, I want to start off with the blue side. You can start off with any side you want, but I'll start off actually, I'll start off with our red side because, you know, red is cool. So once again, we're going to hold it always like this now, with yellow on our left, white on our right, and we're going to keep looking up and down. So we can see the first thing we want to do is the same way we built our white center, we're going to make a 1x3 block in the middle. So it's all about moving the two edge pieces to fit right next to the center. So here's one right here. Here's another one. And now that we've made it, we're going to keep it vertical at all times now. So once you've made it horizontally, move it like with an F or a U to make sure that it's vertical at all times. And we're going to keep moving around the cube. I can see I already made a bar right here. So I want to make sure it's vertical as well. So when I move it down, it's good. Here's another piece right here. Pair it up. Then I can just simply insert. And it just made a red side. You come across a case like this where you see that the piece is already connected to the red, but your bar isn't finished. You could simply just move it out of the way. And it's like this. First, move your bar out of the way so you can freely move this. Go to an empty spot, rotate it with a U or an F until it's ready to be inserted again. And now it's a perfect corner and we can insert. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the next side, but now we have 3 centers, right? So the more centers we build, the more we have to make sure that our moves are not damaging our progress. That's the most important thing. So now every time we try to pair something in here, we always have to make sure we move it back so that we can fix our red. So we're continuing on and we're looking for, once again, we're building a 1x3 block. So we're looking for a middle piece right here. And I can see there's one right here. It's already paired in a 1x3, but we don't need that yet. So it's okay to break it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that edge in. Once we insert it in, you can see that we damaged our red. So we're going to move this vertically and then we're going to move it back up. And that's going to make our first 1x3. We're looking around the cube. Here's one right here. So I can simply pair it up. But when I did that, it moved the red. So I have to move to an empty space so I can move this back down. And once again, it's made a 1x2. I'm looking around. Here's a corner right here. I can insert it. And now that I've paired it up together, you can see that this is damaged. So I need to move this out of the way to an empty spot so I can move this back. And you can see when we hold our pieces vertically, it doesn't damage any progress. So now we can simply move this here. So now that we want to put it here, we're going to have to move it. So if it's all the way here and we want to move it to our green side, we're going to have to go move it first here. And to move it into here, we're just going to simply put it there, move it into an empty spot, move our piece back. We could do it again. So we're going to move this bar in here. It damaged our red. So we have to move it into an empty spot or a space we don't want, or a space that we're okay with being damaged. And then we're going to move it up. And here's our piece. We can simply move this up, move it out of the way, move this back down to make sure our red is staying good. And now we can insert. So similar to how we inserted with our yellow side, we want to make sure that our bar isn't on the empty side. Rather, it's on the spot that already has one. So when we move it down and move it to that empty spot to restore everything, it will create our first 2 centers. All right, so now we're continuing on. Now we're moving on to last two centers. Now, the most important thing about last two centers that you're going to learn in this tutorial is learning about commutators. Let me show you what a commutator is. This is what a commutator is. It's essentially swapping only two pieces on the entire 5x5. And in order to be able to do a commutator like this, you're going to perform a special algorithm. Now, it all depends on where it is, either from the left side of the middle or the right side of the middle. So you're always going to indicate your middle as the middle layer. So because this is an odd layer puzzle on a 5x5, it's that center line. It's this layer right here that defines if you're going to either go left or right. So in this case, because this is on the left side, we want to align these two so that they're both in the same side. In order to swap them, if to solve it, I'm going to perform this algorithm. I'm going to move it down so that the correct piece is in its right layer. Because I went to the left, we're going to perform our F move in the right direction. Then we're going to perform another slice down. And we're going to reverse what we did. We're going to reverse this. Since we went to the right, we need to go reverse, which means we have to go back to our left. We're going to move this original piece back up. We're going to go ahead and perform another F to line this back up. And then we're going to perform another F back. So what that does afterward is that it will change both of the pieces and swap them back to where they need to go. Let's see a case where it's on the right. If it's on our right side and we want to swap both of these pieces to our right, what we're going to do is we're going to line them up so they're on the same layer. We're going to move only that layer down. So because it's on the second layer, we're only going to move that one down. Once we have it like that, we're going to, since we're on our right side, we're going to put our F direction on the left side like this. We're going to move this down as well. We're going to go back to the original side to pair that back up. Now we want to fix what we did down here. So we need to move the blue layer back to where it needs to go to move this back up. Then we can just solve. Then we need to move everything back to its original place. And then you will see that we solved for the commutator. What do we do when we have a case like this where we can clearly see that it's in the exact middle? How do I know if I go left or right? Well, if it's in the exact middle layer, then all you have to do is you can pick either one. You can choose either left or right to go because it's exactly in the middle. So if we try to fix this commutator, we're going to move it down, only that layer. Now we get to pick either side. So let's say we did left. We're going to move this layer down now. We're going to move this back to its original post. This orange piece, we want to move it here, back up. And so the goal of this move is to make sure this blue or whatever color is going to match back with that layer because it's damaged. So our goal is to move it back there up, move this back, and you will see you solved your commutator. Now that we know what it looks like, let's actually go back and solve for the last two centers of our 5x5. Okay. So we're going to keep looking around. We can see that we have these last two centers. And the first thing we want to do is, once again, like before, we want to build a 1x2 bar. So we already have a 1x2 bar already here. So we know we can start looking around, and we already made one here. So what we can do is we can insert it into the corner right here and move that up. But because we moved it up, all the other layers have been damaged. So we need to go to an empty spot where there's not this block right here. So if we go here, this block is safe. So we can move everything back down. We can keep looking. Here's another one. So that will easily go right here. So if we put this in again, you could see that this will get damaged. So we need to move it to an empty spot and move it back down. And once we do that, you're going to come across a few cases. The first case you're going to come across for this last layer is a case like this. Now, to solve this, you'll do a special algorithm, which I'm about to show you right now. So the preferable way for you to hold it is to make sure these move around so that they're on our right side like this. And we're going to perform a commutator to solve for it. So here is how we're going to do the commutator. Because it's going to be on our right side, move only that layer, move it out of the way, move the yellow back down here. We've made a T. Since we went to the left, we're going to go to the right to move this orange back up. We're going to move this back here so we can align our blue and move it back up. And that has solved our two centers. Similarly, you'll come across a case like this, where, as you can see, we have sort of a interesting thing here where we're trying to align these pieces. So in order to fix that issue, what you're going to do is you're going to align it like this. You're going to align it so that this corner when we push it up, it will fill up this layer. So because this is the empty spot, if I move this corner up like this, it will make a bar. And that's what we're trying to go for when we're trying to insert. So because I know this is the right position, I'm going to move it up, move it towards where there's going to be a damaged line. So in this case, I'm moving it to the right because my red is showing here. We're going to move it down and that will solve for it. Let's say we decide to do it on the left side, same thing. Since this piece is going to fill up this piece right here, I know this is the right position, so I'll move it up. Because I see the red on this side now on the left, I'm going to rotate this so it goes to where the red is, move it down. And you can see it has fixed it. One final case that you will get when you're solving for the last two centers is a case like this, where it's two corners just missing. They're just the only two corners that need to be swapped. Now we could normally perform a commutator, but here's a more simpler and kind of a cool way to solve for it. So you want to align it so that they're both right beside each other like this. So when it's facing you, the edge is on the top right, and when it's on top, it's on the bottom right. And you're going to perform this algorithm. You're going to grab both layers, perform an R, U, R prime. And what that did is that it solved for them, and now we can insert it as if it was just a big, we can insert it now as if it was just a big 1x3, making sure it goes on this side where there's already a 1x3, so that when we insert it back, it will solve for the two layers. And those are all the possible cases and ways you can solve for last two centers on a 5x5 with commutators. All right, let's go through one more example with the last two centers. These are the last two centers I've got on this 5x5. And so remember, the first thing that we want to do is find a 1x2 block. We can see that there's one right here. We found another one here. So when we insert it, we're going to move it to an empty spot to move our damaged piece back up. And then we're looking around. Here's another 1x2. Compare it together. Move it so that this is going to be replaced. And so we can move our damaged piece back up. And now we come across a case like this, where this needs to go up here so that we can pair it together. So let's say we want to pair up these two. So we can pair like this, move it out of the way, move it back down. And as you can see, it has made a 1x3. And now I can solve for it as so. All right, so now that we have solved for all the centers on the 5x5, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for the edges. So that means we're going to do some edge pairing. If you solve the 4x4, you will understand that this is going to be very similar. As what we're going to do is we're going to now pair this, this, and this so that they all have the same color scheme. So we'll start off with the white and orange. I can see that there's one right here. So we're going to start with our slice. So just like that, we've created a slice. So now we need to use either this algorithm, R, U, R prime. Sorry, no. We have to either use this algorithm. We either have to do an R, U prime, R prime, or an L prime, U, L prime, or an L prime, U, L in order to insert another piece to finish this off. So we're looking for the center one. So I'm looking around and it's right here. So I can move around the top and bottom until they become paired together. And that's one edge pair that I've created. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it out into the top or the bottom. So I'm going to move it up to the top. So I'm going to perform the same thing I had to do before. If I was going to insert this piece, we're going to perform an R, U prime, R prime, and that has moved our piece. So now we can keep going. We don't have to align everything back. If you want to, you can, but we're already in a cut here and we can just keep going. So we're going to keep looking around. So this is very similar to what we did on the 4x4. So you can look at that 4x4 tutorial to kind of give you a little bit of a helping hand. And here we have the blue piece, and I want the blue piece to help out. So I want to insert this into this layer. So we're going to perform, since it's on our right, we're going to perform an R, U prime, R prime, and that will move it here. So we can go ahead and pair them together, slicing. So now we're looking for that center one. So let's see if I'm looking around the cube. It's up here. Now to make sure that it doesn't come in the wrong way, we want to see, okay, so if I insert it to the left like this, and I try slicing, it doesn't work. If it's like this, you're going to insert it from the left. If it's like this, where the front color is facing these two colors and they're the same, you're going to insert it from the right. So because we have it like this, where the colors are the same, we're going to insert it from the right side. So it's going to be an R, U prime, R prime. Then we can slice. And just like that, we've paired up another one. So we're going to move it up out of the way. So to move it up out of the way, we're going to pretend we want to put this in. So we're going to form an R, U prime, R prime. And that has saved our progress. So now we're looking around. And if you ever, so our goal is to always maintain this slice and not move anything else. So we're looking around the cube, always holding it like this with our top and bottom free and safe from being moved around so we can keep our progress. So we're looking around. As long as you perform those algorithms, R, U prime, R prime, or the L prime, U, L, everything is going to be solved. Everything is going to be fine. But if you don't perform those algorithms when you're trying to insert an edge piece to slice, it's going to ruin all your progress. So make sure every time you want to insert, you're using one of those two algorithms, either left side or right side, to insert your edge pieces. So we're going around the cube. I'm looking around. I like this white and green, so I'm going to look around for the next part of the white and green, which is going to be this one. So we're looking around. It's not up here, so I'm going to rotate now and look up here. So I see it rotated, so now it's on top. And just like I said, if they match up like this, white is matching with white, and they're the same, we can insert it from the right side. So R, U prime, R prime. So now we can slice. All we're missing now is this bottom piece. Let's look around for it. If it's on top, it's not on top. It's not here, so I have to rotate again. Look up here. Here's one right here. So now we can insert it. Because they're the same color, green and green, I can insert it from the right. Then I can slice one more time. Now I'm going to move it out of the way, doing an R, U prime, R prime. So we can keep going. Here's the green and yellow, so I'll work on the green and yellow next. I found a piece up here. So green and yellow match, which means it can come from the right side. So R, U prime, R prime. Slice to make sure that they're together. We're looking around for the last green and yellow piece to insert. I don't see it up here or on the sides, which means it must be at the bottom. So I'm going to rotate it. And we're going to look around. Here it is right here. So as we can see, yellow and yellow matches right here. But because we flipped it, it's actually going to come in from the left now. So we're going to perform a left version of the algorithm. And now we can go ahead and insert. And now we can put it up. Since now we can move this out of the way using an R, U prime, R prime. Keep looking around. I can see that there is a, oh look, so we can start working on this orange layer here, this orange and yellow. So I want to insert the orange and yellow. So I'm going to go ahead, and since orange and orange match, we're going to do an R, U prime, R prime. Slice. And now we can see we kicked this one out, so we need to inverse this. So to inverse, let's say you want to inverse a layer. What you want to do is you want to take it out first. But as you can see, we're slowly building more blocks, and they're taking up our empty slots. So when we're trying to reverse this, we got to make sure that this in the middle is empty so we can continue working on this. So we're going to first insert this back up here. Yeah, we're going to insert this back up here. Wait, we're going to insert this up here. Now we're going to look back at this, and we can see that, and because if we try to put it in normally like this, it wouldn't work. We're going to try it the reverse way. So we're going to try it on the right side now. And now when we slice, it will fix that. So that's how to inverse a piece that you want to inverse. So we're going around, we're looking for the next part. This is a completed bar, so we can move it up here using the inserting algorithm. We're looking around for more pieces, and we can see we have this and this edge right here. So we can see they're the same color here. So we can go ahead and insert from the left like this, slice. We can see we have this one here, and because this is different, that means we have to insert it from the left. So we're going to have to go right here, and now they match up. Okay, slice one more time. Now we can insert this up here. Yeah, we can insert this up here. Here's an issue. So if you have a situation like this where you're trying to move this solved edge upward, but if I do that, it gives me another solved edge, you need to find an empty space like this in front of you so you can insert that and keep your solved parts correctly. There is going to be a limit eventually, so as we continue solving, you'll see we're going to reach that limit, and by then we'll reach last 4 edges. So we're looking around the cube still. Here is our next piece. We're looking around. So I could see if I move this like this, it pairs them up, and that leaves this one at the bottom, and it wants to be inverted, so we need to invert it. So we're going to pretend this is going to go here. Now it's on top, so we can properly put it in. Now I want it to go up here. Since we want it to go up here, if we try doing it on the right side, it's going to be down. So that means we have to do it from the left side. So we're going to do the left version of inserting. Slice again. And then we should be able to insert it, making sure that there's an empty spot like this in front of us. So when we insert, nothing is damaged. And all 4 slots here are filled, which means we can only work from the top now. And I'm looking around. I'm looking. I see this one's almost completed, so I can try to, see I solved it like that. So now I got to make sure there's an empty spot and insert it either from the right or the left. I'll do it from the right. And as you can see, once you reach this point where the top 4 edges like this are solved and the bottom 4, you don't have any more space to insert. So we're going to have to put all our centers back, slice back so that you have all your solved centers. And if you were doing the L prime and the U primes correctly and your inserting algorithm correctly, when you align your centers back, you should have everything solved. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to solve for the last 4 centers. Okay, we've made it to the last 4 centers and we're ready to finish solving this cube. So what you want to do, so in order to solve for the last 4 centers, what you want to do is you want to move 2 of these. What you want to do is you want to move 2 of these layers on top. So we're going to insert this as if it was an edge. We're going to insert this one as if it was an edge. And now we have all 4, we have 2 on top and 2 of them looking side by side. So we're going to do the same thing as slicing, except now we want to be very mindful of what we're slicing into. So in our case, as you can see, this one wants to go down there. So we have to inverse this. So to invert it, once again, making sure there's an empty spot, we're going to invert it like that. And if we try to put it in from the left, it's going to put it on top and we want it at the bottom. So we're going to have to move it like this so we can do it from the right side. Now that it's inverted, we slice. We're going to move it now, but we want to preserve our blocks. So because this has a block like this, I want to move it so that it stays like this, where this is preserved and only this changes. But you can also look around. This one doesn't have any bars, so this is okay with ruining. So we can replace it and move slice back. And now we're looking around. We can see that, oh, this red can go here. We sliced. And now we want to move it in a way so that when we move this, this will be fine. But if we moved it normally like this, it would damage our, you could see it would damage our progress, but we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it so that when we insert it, the bar is preserved and this spot that we're okay with messing with is going to be the one damaged. So now we've made it to this case right here. So this is a very interesting case. This is a very special last 2 edges case. If you have a case like this, where if you have a special case like this where this is the last piece that wants to go here, but these two bars are flipped, you can insert it, inverse it by inserting this normally, and then inserting it from the left side. And then when you slice back, all the edges have been solved. Here's another case you're going to get when you're doing last 2 centers. You're going to come across a case like this where everything is solved, but these 2 need to be flipped this way, and there's no extra bars to help with that. There's going to be a very special algorithm that you're going to perform to only switch 2 edges. So this is how they have to look like, and this is how you perform the algorithm. and that will solve for the last two edges. Some of you may come across a case like this where the edges are solved and they're correct, but the middle ones need to be flipped. So what do I do there? Well, what you're going to do is you are going to make sure that this is the opposite color. So you're going to invert this. Now that they're inverted, we're going to perform the edge swapping algorithm 2 times. So we're going to do it 1 time. Right? And now we're going to insert again, but from this side, so that we can swap these two again. And that will solve for the last 2 edges. So now that we have finished solving for the last 2 edges of our 5x5, we should have something that looks like this, where it kind of looks like a big 3x3. On a typical 3x3, we have the corner, the edge, and the corner. In this case, we've created a huge 3x3 by putting a corner, an edge, and a corner again. So now this is a big 3x3. So now you can solve it as if it was a big 3x3. So all you have to do is now solve like a regular Rubik's Cube. And if you don't know how to solve a Rubik's Cube, I recommend that you look at my tutorial on how to solve a 3x3 so that this could be the final step and you've completely solved it. It's also important to note that because this is an odd layer puzzle, we don't have to worry about parity like we would on an even layered puzzle like a 4x4. So there's no other special algorithms to learn. It's all just about you solving it like as if it was a big 3x3 and using whatever method you use to solve the 3x3. And just like that, you solved the 5x5 Rubik's Cube. Okay, so now that we've solved our 5x5 is solved, I will go through an example solve, an entire walkthrough solve of me pointing what I'm doing so you can follow along and see what it kind of looks like when you're going slow and what it looks like in real time, all the steps that we did throughout the tutorial. So enjoy. So hopefully you guys were able to solve your 5x5, and hopefully it was manageable for you to be able to follow along with a lot of these complicated concepts. Moving on from 4x4 to 5x5 is a big jump. You have to learn about new things like edge permutation, knowing where to insert edges. Before, we didn't really have to care. We also have to learn about commutators for last centers, but this opens up the door for how to solve a bigger cube like a 7x7 or a 6x6 and beyond. Really, once you solve the 3x3, the 4x4, and the 5x5, you have everything you need to solve any puzzle, any n-by-n puzzle. So even a 21x21, it's the same thing, only a little bit longer and more tedious. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did and were able to solve your cube, go ahead and give that video a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Let me know of any questions that you have, as I will be answering them in the comments. And I'll see y'all in the next one. It's the Cubing Bear out. Peace out, guys.